Get the comfy chair!
Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd. Your hosts, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
So, we're doing our comfy chair, and this is the first time, I think, we always say we're going to do this monthly. We never do. This might be the first time we actually have done it monthly. So we did one in March, and we're doing one in early April. I'm impressed that we've actually got it together to do this. But we're kind of playing in a certain rotor, aren't we? Like a comfy chair, a watch. Yeah. No, I got that wrong, didn't I? Oh, yeah. Comfy chair, some sort of watch that chains onto our last watch, then a hammer, and then some sort of watch that chains onto our last watch, and then back to the comfy chair. That's the kind of rotor we're trying to work to. Yeah. Anyway, let's jump straight into this comfy chair. Shall I start, or do you want to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, mine's an interesting one. It's a book, and it was a book that I kind of fell into rather than deliberately listen to. I listen to a lot of audio books, audio stuff, podcasts, and short stories usually, or comedy stuff, because I do a lot of walking. I walk a lot. I walk every day for at least an hour, usually more like an hour and a half. So I have a lot of time to just listen to stuff. And on the rotation of my short stories, I listened to one short story from one author and so on and so forth. I came to Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah. One came on and it was like 5.5 hours. It's like, that
seems weird for a Poe book, first of all.
But I started listening and I quite liked it, and then I looked it up, and this is Poe's only novel. I didn't even know Poe did a novel. And the weird thing is, it's not particularly Poe's wheelhouse of weird suspense and slightly supernatural goings on. This is basically a grim version of something like Robinson Crusoe stroke, I don't know, Adventures at Sea, right? Adventures at Sea. The title is really bland. It is The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym is the title. Which, to me...
That sounds like a weird indie film, I've got to say.
It could
be. Just title-wise.
But it also sounds like a short story title. But I started listening to it, and I really quite liked it. And actually, the more I listened, the more I liked it. And I wouldn't have, if I'd have heard it, I would not have guessed it was Poe, because it doesn't follow a lot of his usual narrative tricks. He's kind of often quite wordy, but this was had proper narrative drive. It really got on with business. But though it was told from the first person, there was very little direct dialogue. He'd recount what someone had said here and there, but otherwise it was just telling you the story, which is how Robinson Crusoe is written, right? But it's also in the style of other later writers, and I have to say, I feel that the way he wrote this influenced other people somewhat. So essentially, it's a man in the South Seas, in the Pacific, on a boat, and there's various adventures. For example, mutiny happens. Then they kind of can't find any land, and they're running out of provisions. Ultimately, we get to cannibalism, right? And then they get rescued, and then something else, and it goes on like this. It's properly grim. And I was quite shocked of how grim it was. I wasn't expecting it. I'll tell you what it made me think of. It made me think of Moby Dick. The way that's written. So I've got to think that Melville was somewhat influenced by this work. Though, having said that, I've said all that, and I'm not sure of the timelines, but I'm pretty sure Poe was right before Melville. So I'm just guessing. I'm not gonna go look it up, but I'm gonna guess that Melville wrote his Moby Dick after this. Also, later American writers from Poe, which went for a more naturalistic and direct and somewhat nihilistic way of writing, may have also been influenced by. And I'm thinking of Joseph Conrad, his Heart of Darkness, that kind of Nostromo, those kinds of works. But this was really, really basically a grim version of something like Robin Hood. I mean Robinson Crusoe. And you know what it reminded me of? There's a story that's in the great graphic novel The Watchmen, called The Tales of the Black Pearl, I think. Oh no, Tales of the Black Freighter. Sorry, the Black Pearl's the Pirates of the Caribbean. Tales of the Black Freighter, and I got to think that piece of artwork and, you know, storytelling with it that's wound in through The Watchmen is also somewhat influenced by this story. I mean, this feels like a bit of I feel like I've uncovered something that definitely wasn't on my radar, and it might not be on a lot of people's radar, and it's worth a go. And it's not a long work. It's 5.5 hours, probably translates to 160 pages, 170 pages. Okay. I'm guessing off the top of my head. It's a novella, a long novella rather than a novel even, right? But it's a really, really well-written book. I do like Poe's short stories, which is why I listened to Poe as part of my rotation, but this just came out of nowhere, so I accidentally read a book. So there you go. So that's me. Yeah.
Okay, so weirdly, my first one is also a book.
Okay.
So I've got a new job. There was a lot of setting up systems and waiting around and just not having to be in work, but not actually being able to do anything. I took one of my books in and I started reading this one, which I've been meaning to get around to, called Horus Rising, which is it's a Warhammer 40k book. And it's basically kind of this weird. I'm about a third of the way through it, and I got through that in one day. It's quite a page turner. So,
good. So it has narrative drive again, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of this weird account of various people interacting in the immediate prelude to this big event called the Horus Heresy, where the whole Imperium of Man got split in two, and one side defected to Chaos and the other stayed loyal to the Emperor. And Horus was as the title implies, is the big guy in charge of the split. And one of the first line of the book is, "I was there the day that Horus slew the Emperor."
Oh, okay,
that's a good opener.
Good opening line. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow,
and it turns out this is very much prior to the Horus Heresy, so there's a lot of tongue in cheek, haha, wow, it's why would we ever need Space Marines fighting Space Marines? We only fight alien monsters and rogue humans, ha sort of thing. So there's a lot of that. So
I'm just looking this up. Written by Dan Abnett, first published in April 2006.
Yeah.
This has been around a while, right?
Yeah. This has kicked off a 40-book series about the events leading up to and the events of the Horus Heresy.
Now, a lot of people probably aren't aware of this, but there are a ton of books for Warhammer 40,000, aren't there?
There's tons of books and games. It's a case of you may well have played a game and not even realized it was part of a bigger setting. So, Dawn of War, very popular RTS, very much a 40k game.
And a great game. Great game, right?
Great game. Not many people acknowledge that there's more to it. There's a whole miniatures tabletop game. So I highly recommend this book. I've literally got it right here on the list next to me.
How many what sort of length is it?
Well, my version, which is the quote unquote Masterworks version, actually has an extra little bit at the back. The short story called Misbegotten. This version's 414 pages.
Wow, it's a fair old chunk.
And I'm about 150 through it. So.
Apparently, there's an audiobook of it, and that's 12 hours, 16 minutes. So, that sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is it the first of a series, or in the middle of a series?
This reads like the first of a series. It'll explain. It literally in a kind of a Tolkien-esque style. The first few pages of this version basically has it's got the dramatis personae of all the characters. It's Horus, first Primarch and Warmaster, Rogel Dawn, Primarch of the Imperial Fist, and yada yada yada. It goes on with this big list of titles and characters, and such. It's like just like here's a quick overview. Now we're gonna go on with the actual like character development stuff. So
Yeah, and I mean, and Warhammer 40,000 is a fairly rich environment anyway, in terms of lots of different classes and races involved in what's going on. And it's funny enough, I did play a Warhammer game not long ago. Called Blood Bowl, which is like Warhammer as American football. It was a lot of fun, and the distinctive races really came out now. It was a game between two of the races, which were the ogres and the Skaven. Now the Skavens are like ratty creatures, so essentially it was strength. The ogres were basically killing the Skaven. It wasn't a football game; it was killing. But the Skaven were trying to outrun them, outpace them with the ball, and it was a touchdown finale kind of game. That's the game, but it was just kind of funny to play. Such a different version of Warhammer that I've seen played.
People consider, because Blood Bowl is technically like an alternate universe. People consider that like there's the 40k universe, which is really grim dark series, literally the origin of the term grim dark. And then there's like the fantasy setting where like planets have exploded and everything's super high fantasy and really there's lots of body horror and like monstrous things. And then there's the Blood Bowl universe where they play American football with each other.
Yeah. So I mean Warhammer's battles, but Blood Bowl feels like an arena, right? An arena fight. That's the difference.
You just see the machines that the dwarves come out with. They literally come out with like a steamroller.
Okay, then there was some crazy stuff. I had just to flick through the book, which doesn't come with the game. It's a separate tome. And man, that alone was rich. There was about 12 different races with different abilities, and you can plan to use them. There was like, it was very cool. And I have to say, even within Warhammer, that's not just all of Warhammer. Warhammer's got a whole other thing, it's Warhammer, which is more like D&D or Tolkien-esque kind of thing, whereas Warhammer 40,000 is
sci-fi, grimdark, and now there's Age of Sigmar, which is more like it's like the highest of high fantasy. Like you're playing literal gods fighting each other with like people made of lightning and So it's an interesting universe, and I have to say some of the best games I've ever played are Warhammer video games. I'm talking about those RTS games that they produced in the past are really fun, and engaging. They're great.
Yeah. Okay, so Dan Abnett's Horus Rising. Okay. Yeah. My next one's a bit of a mishmash. I watched a film because it was mentioned in a book. Now I do want to talk about the book when I finish it, so I'm going to mention it very briefly here. But it does kind of inform why I watched this film. I'm reading this book called England Screaming by Sean Hogan. I'm saying Dan like Dan. Sean Hogan, who is in the sort of media production area of horror. He's directed films. He writes films. I think he was involved in Borderlands though. But if you look at the cast, it doesn't seem to be. So I'm a bit confused. Anyway, this book is a very interesting one. England Screaming. It's like a fictionalized alternative history of England. Through the lens of horror movies. So, for example, the first chapter is about the Duke de Richelieu. It tells you the story of how he beat MacArthur, which is the film Devil Rides Out. Okay. Once he beat MacArthur, he kind of was known for help fighting satanic groups, which led him into contact with Julian Carswell. Now, Julian Carswell is the black magician in the movie Night of the Demon. A serious Satan, a much more powerful Satanist than MacArthur. And the Duke was kind of involved in that. And this is just the first chapter, by the way. Yeah. And then finally, the Duke, once Carswell was defeated, went through his papers and found some notes which talked about the Satanists trying to help bring the Antichrist to Earth. Right?
Yeah.
And this led him to the hospital where Damien Thorne is born. He's an old man at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, something unfortunate happens. But then Damien Thorne becomes part of this weird historic narrative that's been constructed in quite a major way. Now, I've kind of talked more about the book than I intend to. But essentially, each chapter is like a sort of history of people or events, but it intertwines several films per chapter. So it's kind of very clever. It's like, someone who was a bit of a weirdo in this film is actually the main character in this film, or there's a relationship between them. And it goes on. But one of the chapters involves some weird stuff involving Catholic priests and stuff like that. And here we come onto the film The Borderlands. The Borderlands, I think it was like 2011. Let me just check. The Borderlands is a found footage stroke quasi faux documentary kind of movie. 2013, British film.
Okay.
Set in Britain, and it's also called in the US Final Prayer, right? And I don't know why it's called The Borderlands, because that has no bearing on the film, but basically it's about Vatican-sanctioned troubleshooters who look into paranormal claims. They're kind of there. They're kind of there if someone's claiming something bad's happening in a church or, on holy ground or something like that. And they invariably find, there's a rational explanation, usually fraudsters, but there's some sort of rational explanation. Anyway, they go to this place, and it involves these two men that kind of don't know each other. One's like the technical guy and one's the experienced guy who's been seen everything. Who's very fried, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And we find out he was involved in one event where like 8 people died, and he's on his last chance or whatever. And in fact, some of the Vatican people he has to deal with treat him quite contemptuously. As well. Anyway, they go off to Devon, of all places, and there's this church where something odd's happening, and they're suspecting the priest might either consciously or unconsciously be faking what went on, and it's like weird stuff, like things moving and stuff like that, and it goes on. Now, this is a good film. And one of the reasons I'm not a fan of found footage, but I do like the odd one here and there. And this one isn't really found footage in the camera works way too steady. You can tell it's a camera, it's not found footage. Though they have things like, I'm wearing this headset with a camera and I'm walking around, things like that while they're investigating. Yeah. So it's all that sort of stuff. And it just goes on. But the fun is the two men, they kind of rub up again, they rub each other the wrong way. One's kind of friendly and easygoing. The other one is the one who's been fried by all his experiences is much more hard-cased. At one point, for example, they are inside a building and they hear this weird screaming outside, and they run out and someone has set a light to a sheep, right? So the sheep's dying and screaming. And they say, no, it's just they know who we are. Someone's messing with us, probably kids or something like that. And at one point, they go to the village pub, and as they're walking along, a teenager just goes to one of them, "Ma!" And the fried one kind of turns around, looks at him, and sort of says, "What did you say?" And he says, "What? Go back to your church." He says it makes a joke, and he just punches this teenager in the face.
Okay.
It's really quite funny. And I mean, he's an older teenager. He's not a kid. He's like an 18-year-old kind of thing, 17, 18-year-old. But it's like, and his mate's going, all right, calm down. And it's kind of funny. But it's not really scary, but it's entertaining. It's definitely worth a watch. It was on Netflix, but it doesn't appear to be there anymore, which is a shame. And also the one who's the hard-bitten fried guy was actually in a comedy troupe called Absolute. It used to be a show on Channel 4 called Absolute, Scottish, and he's in it, and he does a really good job. And I did find out the other man in it isn't really an actor. He dabbled, but he's gone back to other stuff. But he's really good as well. They really work as a pair, and that's the strength of it. So basically, they find out this church was built on an old pagan temple, and they found stuff underground They start exploring underground.
Literally built on a Indian grave burial ground.
Yeah, pagan temple is how it's described. So they realise there's something going on, and the ending is not great, but it works. It works, and the rest of it's really good. And it's definitely a folk horror film. You know, it's one of those. So it's because it's set in the English countryside. It's dealing with history. So you know, modern films that you can call folk horror tend to be talking about history or some sort of ritualistic. You know, The Wicker Man is contemporary, but it's still a horror film. Whereas a lot of folk horror is historic. So yeah, talked way too long about this one, but yeah, The Borderlands is a good look. I will talk about England Screaming way more in a later comfy chair once I finish it, because I'm essentially going through it, and any film I haven't watched that it references or I haven't seen in a long time, which is the case of The Borderlands, I'm actually watching, which means I'm progressing through it very slowly, because it's like one chapter might be 3 films I've not watched, not seen. I've got. I want to watch them. I want to really immerse myself in some sort of English horror that I haven't.
Yeah.
This guy's knowledge is amazing. It's a great read. It's great. Anyway, that's me.
Okay. So my next one is a show I've been watching with a friend recently. It's called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This show has been running for quite a long time, so good luck catching up with it. There's like 13 seasons, for like 14, I think. I actually showed you a brief scene of this.
I really liked it. I have to say, the big
really
one you showed me, I thought, this looks very, and it's got Danny DeVito, right?
Yeah,
so
basically it's this group of schmucks who own a bar in Philadelphia, and they're the worst people you could ever imagine. They're so vile.
Now, I didn't get that from the bit you saw me. One of them, but not all of them.
No, they're
so
all
I
bad.
need to immerse myself a bit. Okay.
No, there's
presumably they're somewhat charming though. Otherwise, you just wouldn't want to watch.
It's just sort of funny to point and laugh at the idiots, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what it becomes. So like you've got Dennis, who's the weird pretty much a sexual predator. He has this whole speech about the implication of being on a boat in the middle of nowhere with a guy. He's like, she doesn't know what she wants, but you know, you'll get what you want because there's the implication.
It sounds really.
The implication.
Basically, you're making it sound awful, and it is, but it's funny, right? It's funny. It's like
because he's playing it off of another guy who's like, the implication of what? It's like what's going to happen to her? Like what are you trying to say is going to happen? It's like nothing's going to happen to her, but she's going to go along with it because of the implication.
Well, the bit that made me laugh the most was there was like an elderly lady like watching him and saying, "Well, what happens if she was there?" He goes, "No, she'd be in no danger." And he goes, "Danger?
They are in danger. What are you not getting about this? There's no danger. It's just an implication. Implication of what? Yeah.
We're in the middle of nowhere."
And the episodes could hugely vary between things. So the episode we're talking about is one where they bought a boat. And they're trying to spice up the boat so that they can pull women.
Yeah, and I did laugh.
Fully expects to make it a shrimping vessel.
Yeah, I did laugh that the 3 guys went to buy a boat together, and each of them had a completely different reason for buying the boat. One wanted just to be out to sea. One wanted like a speedboat, and one wanted a shrimping vessel.
Yeah.
It's like, and this guy said, "Yeah, I got one of those," and he just sold them this horrible old boat.
Yeah.
And told them it was all of those things they wanted. So wow.
Yeah, there's an ongoing thing about one of them was likely molested as a kid. It sounds horrible that I'm laughing at this, but he keeps writing these like songs where he's like, the nightman's gonna come and he's gonna get inside you, and it's like,
wow.
Okay, Charlie. It's headed by Charlie Day. Rob McElhenney, I think is how his name's pronounced, and Glenn Howerton. But it's also got Danny DeVito, and I think it's funnier if I forget her name. But she's playing Dee, the
Mad
one
sister.
lady in the group.
Yeah. It reminded me a little, and I've only seen a few episodes of this, and I quite like this show, a show called Trailer Park Boys. I think it's called Trailer Boys. Something like that. About 3 dudes who live in a trailer park and just muddling through life.
I think probably the best way you can describe it is how Married with Children was supposed to be like an anti-Cosby show. Like it was just that, but it's just awful. It's like if you took that even further, if you like made them the worst possible people.
Total terrible people. Sorry, the one I'm comparing to is called Trailer Park Boys. It's a Canadian show, actually.
Yeah, I think I know about that one.
Yeah, and it's all right. And I think both of these are on Netflix. So,
Yeah,
but I do.
Philadelphia definitely is. So.
I'm currently working through another show, which I'm only going to talk about when I finish. I will do it in a couple of years. But once I finish that, I might well move on to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because I like Netflix is easy to watch anywhere, right? That's the thing about it.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a tough start because the first episode is called "The Gang Gets Racist." It's
nice.
Like that's a very hard start, and it's like Danny DeVito doesn't even come into it until like the second season. So it's like a lot of people do skip the first one, then go back and rewatch them.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. My next one, talking of folk horror, is a series that just come out on BBC. It's on the iPlayer. So I guess it's probably international. I don't know quite now how it works with iPlayer. But it was on, and I actually watched it. I crammed it because they're very short episodes. I think they're like 25 minutes, and there were 6 of them. I didn't cram it in one night, but I watched it over 2 or 3 nights. And it's called The Witchfinder. Have you heard of this one?
It sounds familiar.
I just like the premise that it was kind of a comedy about the English Civil War. It's kind of bold to go with that. Now, it wasn't great. Okay. But it was decent, and I liked it the more I watched it. Also, I feel, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like the productive team was kind of somewhat shared with Ghosts, the Channel 4 show Ghosts, which I really like. I really like that show. I think that's a great comedy. So that kind of kept me going too. And I saw 2 of the regulars from Ghosts in the odd episode as well. So there is some sort of cross feed. Now the main characters, the main stars in it are Daisy May Cooper and Tim Key. Now I never really liked Daisy May Cooper at all. Anything else around, I didn't think she was very funny. But I've seen her in other stuff recently, which I really enjoyed. And her personality is much happier in the later stuff I've seen, whereas in other stuff, she's kind of a bit miserable, which I think put me off. But in this, she's kind of interesting because she's basically a suspected witch. But but only because she keeps questioning things. Like at one point, she says, someone's questioning and saying, "You have bedeviled the chicken so it struts around as if it owns the place." And she's going, "It's a chicken. Chickens do that."
Yeah.
And like keeps asking perfectly reasonable questions, but they consider this a sign of being a witch because she's questioning authority and the patriarchy. And the Witchfinder who sort of first comes in contact with her, he's a bit of a bumbling idiot, but he realizes he's got this. Instead of giving her a trial right there, he realizes Matthew Hopkins, the Witchfinder General, is actually in a certain place. So he basically makes up a story to say, we have to go try her there, just so he really wants to impress Matthew Hopkins and get a better job. Right? That's really it. And it's them journeying across the British countryside, English countryside, while the Civil War's going on. So for example, they encounter Cavaliers and Roundheads and this, that, and the other. But it is kind of funny how she just keeps questioning. She goes, "So let me get this right. If you put me on trial and I'm found innocent, do you still get paid?" And he says, "No, of course I don't."
Yeah.
"Well, I used to have a job smelling eggs, right? And if they'd have told us that we only get paid if we smell rotten ones, we'd find a lot more rotten eggs." She said, "Don't confuse this." This guy's also got parent issues about his parents being beekeepers. So he's kind of got this massive knowledge of bees, but he keeps despising anyone who talks about bees. It's really weird. And in the end, towards the end, Reese Shearsmith, the great Reese Shearsmith, turns up as the real Matthew Hopkins, and he's properly mental. He's properly insane. And all the time, they go on this journey, so they get to know each other. So when they come to the end of it, the Witchfinders, Tim Key's character, is kind of doesn't really want to put her on trial and find her guilty. He's got to know her and stuff like that. So it was all right. It could have been a lot funnier, but the character stuff worked quite well. So the lack of comedy, as it were, there was comedy, but it wasn't quite. I mean, the bit that made me laugh out loud was someone trying to get a chicken to admit it was in league with the devil, just shouting at this chicken, and the chicken it just made me laugh. It was just stupid. But it was Daisy May Cooper was probably the best character in it because she wasn't pushing her point. She was just asking perfectly reasonable questions. And at one point they go to this place that's everyone's scared of and they don't know why. And when they get there, they realise that anyone who's got the slightest whiff of witchcraft about them, they just burn at the stake, pit their neighbours, anything. They're just completely bonkers. But they seem quite nice when they first turn up. But they're just trying to get out of this place without alerting them that he's a witch finder and she's a suspected witch. So that was fun. That's me. Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is actually kind of spinning off of my last one. So I noticed that quite a few of the episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia are produced by Fred Savage. As in
Savage from the Wonder Years.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man, Fred Savage is the producer on this, and my friend who I'm watching with goes, who's Fred Savage? And I was like, if you've seen like an 80s kids movie, you've seen Fred Savage. Like,
he was in the
So I said, have you seen Princess Bride? He said no, and I was like, we're watching Princess Bride now. So Princess Bride is my next one. My God, that film is so good.
It's one of the great films, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's weird. Every time I watch it, I have a slightly different view because for a long time I was thinking, no, the first half's way better than the second. Yeah. And then I watch it again, it's like, actually, it's just good all the way through in the end. But it's clever, it's fun, it's kind of charming. All the characters are quite well drawn.
Very mimetic. Like there's a lot of screenshots.
Yes. Prepared to die, all that. All that. And the sword fight is legendary.
Oh my God, the sword fight! Just them constantly like explaining the others like techniques. Is like, you're going with Vanetti's defense.
Sometimes they talk about meta films, don't they? Films about films.
Yeah.
This is almost like meta life. These characters talk about life while they're doing life. Right? Yeah. They kind of understand life at a higher level in some respects, right? And it's just the fact that he throws them down a rope because so they don't get too tired, things like that. That's it's kind of sweet.
Yeah, so it's a very it's I'd say it's probably one of the best fantasy films. Like, it's probably the best. Like, it's not high fantasy; it's just sort of semi-fantastical. But like, there's giant eels and giant rats is really the extent. And they've got Andre the Giant, who they call a giant, but he's just kind of a big guy.
Big guy, yeah.
So, yeah.
And just some of the not inappropriate, the textually dissonant jokes, like to never start a land war in South Asia, things like that.
So it's only slightly less than never cheat death with a Sicilian. Never challenge a Sicilian when death's on the line. Dies. Sort of thing.
And inconceivable. That word, you keep saying it. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah. It's if you've watched and liked the films, I do highly recommend the book. It's like the film, but so much more, because it's not actually just the story of the film. It's the story of it's the like kind of semi-biographical thing of a guy trying to like update this old like folk story that his grandfather would tell him.
Yeah.
So like half of it's just cut out, and we get brief explanations of what's going on. So like they start with, you get to like the prince is introducing Buttercup, and that's like one scene. And he goes, end of the book, it's like, yeah, I cut out this whole like weird description of like this person from a neighboring kingdom who had all these different hats, and she'd swap the hats for different like occasions during like particular occasions, and it was very boring, so I just skipped it out. But I thought I'd bring it up, and just carries on with the book. It's it's really quite interesting.
I've read the book. It is good, yes. Well, it's by William Goldman, who's Academy Award winning screenwriter. He did
he did the film.
Butch Cassidy.
He also did the film.
Yeah, he did do Princess Bride, but he also did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is often forgotten these days, but it's a great and interesting Western. And All the President's Men as well. And there's some others. There's others. He's done others. He's also written a couple of books I really like about being a screenwriter. One's called Adventures in the Screen Trade, where he just tells stories about the studios and who knows what. Another, I think the follow-up book was called Which Lie Did I Tell, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, so that's
certain films he's written foul. They foul badly, and he knows the exact point at which they foul, and they shouldn't have done. They shouldn't have done a certain thing because they lose the audience. And he tells in the book, he tells the story that it's actually from some old story, like Hans Christian Andersen type figure, and he's just adapted it. I don't know if that's true. I really don't.
I don't think it is.
But yeah, so it's a great film though. Yeah, and it's in and of itself, it's a great film, and as you say, the book is really interesting. It's not a thick book either.
It's a very short book. So,
but yeah, it's fun. Okay, so my last one for this. Sorry, did you have any more?
I've got hang on a sec. I've got two more. So.
Well, I've only got one more, so I'll try and dig out one.
I'll do one. You do yours.
Okay, all right. You do
so, I actually intended to talk about this last time we did a comfy chair, but I forgot. Now, me and my friend, we went to the cinema and we saw Jackass 4.
Okay.
Which was amazing. It's like they have not let up. There's a whole sequence where a guy is strapped into a chair and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna shock you." And he's like, "Oh, okay, this will be like very painful." And then they walk in and they've got like fish and honey. And he's like, "What's going on?" Yeah. And they start like smearing fish and honey over him and like shoving fish down his thing. They walk out the room. Then another door opens and an actual bear walks into the room.
Oh my god!
Like, oh no! And this guy's just like paralyzed to the chair. It's like, and the bear like comes up and starts like licking him, and it's like, and
that sounds
they've got like a bear, like a trainer, just like stood in the like observing when looking through these, and there's just a bit. The bear does not like. It's just like licking at his hands, and he just stops for a moment and goes, "We gotta get him out of there now." And it's like, what did he see? What was gonna happen? Like.
Yeah.
It's so there's so many.
He can tell by the
so far. They take it so far. I made the mistake of taking food to this, and I was like reaching for some popcorn, and I was like, about to take it. It's like, "Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. This is 5 gallons of pig semen." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna put this popcorn back in the bag."
Yes, don't fancy that. Yes.
It just shouts it on a guy, but it's got this great like sort of theme of passing the torch. Like a lot of the guys are pushing, they're like pushing their 40s and they're all very injured. They're not in good condition anymore. They keep doing this, so they've got like new guys in that are also doing this. The older guys are still doing the stunts. Don't get me wrong, but they're like Johnny Knoxville gets hit by a bull again. Like a bull just takes him out.
Oh my god!
But this time he ends up in a hospital, and it's got this moment of, yeah, maybe we should. Like, pass
take it easy.
Torch here a bit, because and during the credits they actually do a side by side of the when he gets hit by a bull in, I think it's the original movie,
Yeah.
And nobody gets hit by a ball in this movie, and it's identical up to the point where as soon as he hits the ground in the old one, he's up and he's running.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a really fun film.
Yeah, I have to say, I think I checked out with 2 because one I loved, one was hilarious, but 2, there was a bit too much poop and stuff that was like, I don't think I want to see this. So I kind of checked out there. But I might go back and give it a go because the first one is definitely hilarious, and 2, the bits that weren't involving poop were also hilarious. I mean, the poop bits were hilarious, but it's just there's a limit, right? There's a limit. But yeah, I think I could. There's just so many silly things they do that's fun. In a way,
they try to avoid poo. They seem to avoid poo in this one, but they do the pig semen, and they talk about one time that they drank horse semen. But obviously it comes down to the gross outs tends to be someone who's getting punched in the nuts or in some sort of variety.
I remember one, and this might have been the TV series, not the film. I can't remember. There was one that really got to me, which was giving each other paper cuts. Between their toes. Yeah. But yeah. And I have to say, there's been several imitations since. There's a British imitations. I can't remember what it's called. And there's some other and they don't really compare to the original. The original kind of just got it right out of the gate. And everything else feels like just a weaker imitation of it, frankly. I think it's their sheer joy of doing stupid things really comes through. That's really what it is. Okay. So my last one is a board game. And I have been playing this board game for quite a while. You and I haven't played it, but we could try it sometime. It's called Alien Legendary Encounters.
We have played this game.
I don't remember us playing this one, but yes, okay. But we've played it once then, right?
Yeah, we've played it a couple of times.
Okay.
I think we failed both times. So.
Okay. One of the things about the game is I presume we played the version where we're doing the film Alien.
Yeah.
One of the things about the board game is it comes with 4 sets of characters. So you can do Alien, Aliens. So you can do Alien as one game, Aliens as another game, Alien 3 as another game, Alien Resurrection as another game. And the way they've constructed the game is it does actually mimic the movies pretty well. So the first one you and I have played, Alien, is kind of a tense, avoid the thing, try and get out of the place before the alien catches you.
Before it gets to you.
Yeah.
Much sort of thing.
Yeah, whereas Aliens is a much more, you get loads of weapons, but there's loads of aliens, and you got to just kill them, lots of aliens, and so on. That's kind of the dynamic. And I've recently just finally played the 4th one, where you're basically being tracked by aliens, and you've got to go through certain areas, and the aliens benefit from those areas. For example, flooded areas. The aliens can't be fought when you're in a flooded area, so they're allowed to pass through without you being able to attack them, for example. And essentially, it's a big rubber or latex mat with different areas, and you're essentially trying to build up. It's a deck building game, somewhat. So you're trying to build up your deck to make it more powerful, to either be good at fighting or good at buying other cards, and those other cards are cards for being good at fighting, or interacting with other cards, or being able to buy even better cards later on. So you're basically trying to improve your deck to fight aliens while the aliens are slowly invading the area. They're coming in, and the further on you go in the game, the more powerful aliens emerge. So you need to have powered up to even have a chance of fighting them. I don't remember. It's weird. I don't remember us playing this.
We've played it a few times. We've played it with Mum as well.
Oh, okay. But I understand it way better now. I think we may not quite understood the dynamic. I understand it way better now. And I have to say, it's a great set. It is a really, really good set. And I'm really glad. And I want to it's one I'm going to keep playing over and over again. But it does take a lot of setting up. one of the problems with it is like about 12 different types of cards.
Yeah, you got to.
And they all
out
look
the different
exactly
decks.
the same.
Yeah.
And the writing distinguish them is tiny. They make it as small as possible, so you can barely. It's really quite hard. But I have spent a few hours separating them and bagging them up, so it's relatively easy to unpack and pack away again. There are other ones out as well.
Yeah,
that I'm kind of
I've
interested
played
in.
the Marvel one.
Is
where
it good?
You play as superheroes fighting like Loki or Doctor Strange.
Okay.
No, not Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom. I think the one we
Doctor
played
Doom.
was Doctor Doom because we had to find Doom bots in civilians. And it's like
Okay.
you could let civilians pass through, or I can't remember what it is. You'd basically like have to use fight power to move them out of the way. But if you like flipped them and they were a Doom bot, you had to now fight them again, but you'd lost one of your power to like flip the civilian.
Okay. But there are other ones. There's like the James Bond one, which I kind of like the sound of when I heard about it. But apparently, it only has details from 4 of the films. It's not all of the films.
I mean, it's fairly standard for it to just be like 4.
Yeah, but
all the legendary encounters seem to have like a base 4 like play options sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they weren't films. I can't remember which ones they
You
were, but
didn't
they
like
weren't
the
the best
films.
ones. I didn't want to play a game based on that film. I'd rather it be
I think
an
it was
awesome film.
Moonraker. Was one of
No,
them?
it wasn't Moonraker. Moonraker can be fine. I'll be fine with Moonraker. But there's also a Firefly one. There's an X-Files one, which I find really intriguing. I kind of think I might get that at some point, that X-Files one. There's a Firefly, a Predator. There's a Predator one. And there's others as well. I think Zartu, the website Zartu, it's a UK website, had a sale recently and they were pretty cheap. So I might have a look on this sometime and have a look. But Alien Legendary Encounters is tip top. It's very, very good once you understand how to play it. And
I may need to get you this James Bond game because the movies are Goldfinger,
Yeah.
with the Golden Gun, GoldenEye, and Casino Royale.
Oh, it's the new Casino Royale.
Yeah.
It's not that horror.
No, it's not going to be the non-licensed one.
See, you know what? I think I was just totally disappointed that Live and Let Die wasn't in it. That's probably it. Because that's my favourite. So it might be that, right? It might be that. Anyway, yes. So that's my last one for this session. What you got left?
My last one is something that's been doing the rounds on Twitter recently. Is there's been a dub of like a Russian Pinocchio movie where this had, I think his name's Pauly Shore, voiced Pinocchio. And instead of like, there's a regular English dub, which is like fairly standard, sort of just generic Englishy voice acting. It's like, Father, when will I see the world? And this is Pinocchio. He sounds like that. But Pauly Shore, whose major contribution to media is Biodome, which is infamously bad, he decided to. The term has been thrown around as Fruity Pinocchio.
Fruity Pinocchio.
Yeah. So he goes, Father, when will I see the world?
Oh,
And
so he
it's
just
like,
puts a
he
weird.
voices it's just everyone else takes this like dubbing job seriously, and then there's him. So we watched this really bad Pinocchio movie just because of this weird voice that he puts on for Pinocchio.
So is it animated or something?
It's an animated, it's a CG animated Pinocchio movie that touts itself to be telling the true story of Pinocchio.
Oh, it's called Pinocchio: A True Story.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And it literally starts with a talking horse going like, you hear all these stories of growing noses and all that, talking crickets. That's all silly baby stuff. We're going to tell you the real story about how an anthropomorphic cat and fox and an evil circus owner tried to steal stuff. That's it.
Wow. Apparently, it's known as Pauly Shore's Pinocchio: A True Story dub.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Okay.
Yeah,
I've got
that's
to write
what-
this down.
That's what we watched, and we drank throughout it because it was bad. It was really bad. We had to keep stopping it because there was just stupid like shots and such.
What is going on there?
Lots of repeated animations.
And it's Russian.
Yeah, it's I think it's a Russian, like originally Russian Pinocchio film. because none of the lip syncing matched up. So, and from what I hang on a sec, let me see if I can find the actual original
director Vasily Rovinsky.
Yeah, that's what made me think it was Russian.
Wow, I don't recognise any of the other voice artists, I have to say. Most of them appear to be Russian as well.
Yeah.
But it was in English.
Obviously,
it was an English dub, right?
So, Pauly Shore was Pinocchio. Tom Kenny was Geppetto. Tom Kenny, you may know as SpongeBob SquarePants. And the guy who played Napoleon Dynamite was the talking horse. So.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And those were the only changes from the regular English version.
Wow. So those.
Otherwise, they were the same voice actors.
Wow. I guess it's a bit like, because with Shrek, they actually, for the bit characters, for an American version, it's American sort of minor celebrities, and in the English release, it's English minor celebrities. But it's a bit weird because, for example, the Joan Rivers one, which is clearly Joan Rivers, dubbed by Joan Rivers, they dubbed an English sort of presenter in over Joan Rivers' face. It just is weird, right? But so this one had 3 people that we might know.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's a weird one.
It's a really bad film. I highly encourage you to look up clips of it, but don't actually watch the film because it's very bad.
Right. I'm feeling like these company chairs is where we really surface our good, bad, and odd stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. This has been a real mixed bag. We've gone from Edgar Allan Poe to Pauly Shore in this via, all sorts of other things. But yeah. Okay. All right. We'll wind out there. That's I've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it's a really weird one.
It's a weird one. All right then. Okay. Bye from me.
Bye.